One of your major preachers in Atlanta who, if I called his name, everybody would know him. Invited me to come to his church, and he said this to me, Bishop. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said to me, I'm going to invite you to come. I'm going to bless you real good. I said, you are? Yeah. And they say he do bless you real good. Said to me, you can preach, but don't bother my sissies. I said, well, you don't want me to come preach at your church, because the first one I'm going to hit is you. Oh, you're quiet in here. Hey!
These two young men, it is incredibly difficult for young men to claim that they have had any sort of contact with another man, much less their pastor. This is bringing them scorn and ridicule, as you're already hearing from the church.
Why now? Why are they coming out now?
Yeah, it's a number of things. First of all, as he said, one of these young men, and we put it in the lawsuit, and we're not hiding this, it's in the lawsuit. He broke into the church. Because if you ask any expert who deals with especially young people who've been exploited and sexually abused, there is incredible anger. And it says in the lawsuit, in May of this year, his best friend died. He had gone to the bishop for counseling and solace because, again, he had known him since he was 14 years old. And the bishop then made a move on him, and that created a frenzy inside of him. It awoke in him to how far this man didn't care about him and just was using him.
Well, and that's what Art Franklin is saying, is that he broke into the church, that he's going to discredit Maurice Robinson, and also...
It doesn't start out at one thing, and then it gets to the point of the most serious allegations of this lawsuit.
So what happened? What clicked? What was the... why are they coming forward now?
Then they started... Some of the boys started talking, and there are other people who are out there who have spoken to me that we are vetting their situation now, and also there is some fear on their part about coming forward. I mean, it is... Yesterday in my office, these two young men with their mothers sat in my office, one of them weeping with fear and concern, and reading the complaint one more time, because I said, you are going to be crucified for what you're saying. There are people who love this man, just like any other abuse victim, and they just said, we have to do it. And they know they're others.
I don't know what I am. Tell me, take your clothes down, I'll show you who you are.
There's a preacher whom probably everyone in here knows. I had a vision about him last year. And in the vision, I saw him in his home. Remain standing, everyone that can. And in the vision, I saw him in his home. And in his home, I saw him smoking a cigarette. And I saw two homosexual guys on his right and on his left. And I left the vision. In the vision, I'm still in the vision, but I left the house and went to the service. He was preaching, and people was going crazy. I mean, like they was hanging all on the roof and ceiling it, going crazy, because he was preaching so wonderful. But then I went back in the vision and saw him leave the church and go back to the house with a boy on the left, boy on the left, smoking a cigarette. Came out the vision, said, Lord, what is this? He said, this is the spirit of perversion that has crept into his life. He said, I've heeded him and gave him warnings, but he refused to listen. He said, now what I shall do is I shall take the anointing off of him and place it upon another. Well, I seen the preacher, and he was preaching, and folk was still getting delivered. Now, God told me he'd taken the anointing off of him. But I seen him preaching. Folk got delivered. I didn't understand that. And the Lord spoke to me. I was sitting in that room. Now, I saw folk going crazy, but I'm sitting in the service and I'm crying. And I wasn't crying because I felt the presence of God. I was crying because the church is so deceived. that we don't know the presence of God. I said we're so deceived that we're shouting, we're screaming, and we don't know the difference between the genuine presence of God and gift. Huh? A lot of folk don't have presence, they just have gift. I have a gift. I can minister to you. I can call out your name. I'm seeing today. I can call out your name and address it, make you shout, make you give millions and billions and trillions of dollars. I know what to say. I know how much money is in your account. Do you know the same God that tell me your name and your addresses and your phone number will tell me whether you sitting on your money, tell me how much money you sitting on? Don't you know you can't hide that stuff from me? But I'm concerned about your inner man. See, until you get this inner man right, you can't get this flesh right. We have a good way of dressing up everything on the outside, but being evil on the inside. I see this preacher still operating, preaching, still called around the country, preaching, going crazy. The Lord spoke to me. He said, son, remember I told you, I'm the only boss that will fire you and let you keep working. You don't play with God. I told God, whatever you do, don't let me be fired and I don't even know it. Pray every morning is, God, please don't let me just come to church and preach and I'm prophesying and folk being delivered and I die and go to hell. God, if there's anything in my life, get it out of me now. Saul was king for 40 years. He was only anointed for 2 years. That means for 38 years, God left him in position, but the presence of God had left him. You think you're all right because you're still singing the choir, still preaching behind the pulpit, still ushering. You think you don't even know that God done stripped you. Adam, the day you eat the fruit, you shall surely what? Die. Adam was still walking. He was a walking dead man. God spoke to me. He said, son, I got so many ways of killing you and letting your flesh stay alive. Lift your hand and say, Lord, don't do it to me. Say it again, Lord, don't do it to me.
There are prophets. There are anointed ones, but there are also false prophets. There are also deceiving spirits. There are also agendas from the enemy who wishes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. So my purpose would be to say to those of you who might think something is not quite right, wake up out of the deep sleep. Ask the Lord to show you, you know, am I being deceived here? Am I being led astray here? Am I getting all that you really have for me? Am I being led to you? Am I being pointed to you? Or am I being led and pointed to a man's agenda? So that is my purpose. And I would say, wake up. Wake up out of the deep sleep.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false.
One of your major preachers in Atlanta who, if I called his name, everybody would know him, invited me to come to his church, and he said this to me, Bishop. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said to me, I'm going to invite you to come. I'm going to bless you real good. I said, you are? Yeah.